Doctor. Got some doctoring to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had this plan for this episode, but I've had like no time to research. Working overtime days, and now they're busting down on earbuds because they're the Gestapo. God forbid you just like pass your 12 hours, comfortably.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
No.
So instead, I got ChatGPT to give us some questions that we're just going to riff on.
Okay.
I have no idea what we're going to title this one, but we're going to do it. It's going to be
Chet's
fun.
questions.
Chet's questions. Ooh, I like that. All right. Shall we just dive right into it? Well, first,
Yeah.
we need a drink first. So.
Oh, right. Correct. This is the blend.
The blend. So you get the spilt, and you get the coffee, and you 50-50 it. That was an interesting sound. Glug, 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 glug. Almost.
Okay.
That fox. You can just leave the cans there. I'll put them in the crusher.
In the crusher. Yep.
That fox, right?
100%.
All right, let's do this. What belief do you currently hold that you think has the greatest chance of being completely wrong?
Ooh. I don't know. That's hard to say, because if it's a belief that you have, that it's a strong belief, why would you doubt it?
Yeah. Well, okay, which one has the highest probability of being wrong?
Well, the question that's been on my forefront of my mind lately has been, is reality real? And I'm leaning towards the no side.
That's actually a pretty profound answer. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. Is the reality that we're perceiving right now in this moment actually real, or is it? I hate using the word simulation, because when I think about it, simulation, I think of the Matrix, and I don't think it's that way. But the more I learn and the older I get, the more I realize that there's a really high probability this right here, right now, is not actually real.
Yeah.
Not in a kooky way, but
in a physical sense.
Yeah, in a physical sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. It's something that, like everything that I'm watching and all, even like the stuff that I was looking up for what we were supposed to do, is just pointing, and like the science is behind like the fact that the space between everything and like the way that the molecules vibrate into making a table or this drink or whatever, or my body, there's still so much open space in between it that doesn't make it actually physical. We just perceive it that way.
Mm-hmm. I also think about that book I read, A World Beyond. It talks about when you die, you basically go to this astral plane where you exist as an astral being, and then you reincarnate back into this world. And to me, that feels less like what they mean it as, is like you're sent here to learn and experience the human condition. To me, it feels more like a video game.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna...
You just respawn somewhere else.
Yeah, you spawn into this world, like you jack in, so to speak, and you play this character that is not actually who you are as an astral being, and you do this over and over and over, so you play as a bunch of characters. And then when that life is finished and you go to this realm, you're perceiving the truth of what you really are, but you can... I'm having trouble articulating it, but it really just feels like you're just playing different video games as different characters.
Well, if you think about it like consciousness, if we're all connected to this consciousness, the consciousness of everything, and that consciousness is a learning model, what's the best, most efficient way that a learning model could experience everything there is in the world, aside from like having billions of different operating systems operating at the same time, learning different things all at once? Like, so you wouldn't just like have one entity learning as much as they could for a set amount of time. You'd want like 1 billion people or 8 billion people on the world experiencing everything all the time, all at once, so that you could learn faster and faster.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think to me it makes sense that the consciousness grows, the collective consciousness grows faster in that order.
I agree.
It's just speculation from a doctor. I'm not, saying that that's what it is, but it could be possible.
Could be possible. All right, let's do the next one. What would it actually take for you to abandon a paranormal belief you currently hold? And if the answer is nothing, is it still investigation or religion?
That's a hard question, because no matter what it is that you experience, you're going to view it from a lens that your mind is in at that time. So like we've talked about before, like people who might be more religiously inclined, or even in the realm of religious aspect, like it depends on what religion you are to classify whatever it is that you're experiencing as something that's paranormal or as something that is divine, and what the verbiage that you use is going to be different depending on what religion you believe in. So I think for me to change my mind, it would have to be like a pretty profound event, and irrefutable evidence to point one way or the other.
Yeah, I think for me it would have to be something, this huge profound event, like putting it through the lens of paranormal within ghosts, right? We'll just make it simple. So we have these different theories of what they are. For me to change any of those theories or beliefs, like basically fucking aliens would have to come here and be like, this haunted location is not haunted by the ghosts of deceased humans, it's a temporal fracture or something like that. And not only show me how it works, but show me you can replicate it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay.
And really explain how it works.
Yeah. Like, cool, it's not a haunted house anymore, it's a temporal fracture.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Solved it. Thanks, doctor.
Well, let's see. Which is more disturbing, discovering that consciousness survives death or discovering conclusively that it doesn't?
I would say if you discovered somehow that it doesn't, would be more frightening to me.
I agree. Just knowing you've spent 80 years or whatever on this planet and learning and growing and cultivating who you are, just for it to be lights out, you're done.
Yeah.
It just seems so pointless.
Yeah. And at that point, like, why adhere to the social norms of like being nice and being kind, and then at that point it's like, fuck it, dude. YOLO. Yeah. Rob a bank.
Spend the money on hookers and blow.
Yeah.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Yeah, I think within that aspect, a lot of people cultivate their personality predicated on religion, the 10 Commandments, things like that. They have these kind of guide stones in their life that keep them on the straight and narrow. And then there are people who are just naturally inclined to be good people and do the right thing because that's their character.
Yeah.
But then there are people who only follow the rules because they're forced to. And if there was a conclusive proof that there is no afterlife, no heaven and hell, no consciousness, no nothing, it's finite amount of time, those people would be the worst.
Yeah.
They would do all the awful shit.
Yeah. The word character that you use there is interesting. You're just in the vein of like, it's in their character, it's in their like DNA is who they are, but is that, if we're talking about a simulation, like, is that part of the script of their simulated reality? You know, that's, I'm going to be this person, like you're choosing to be Link in Legend of Zelda, who is like fighting the monsters or whatever, fighting the demons or whatever they are. And he's seen as a good person, and so that's the character that he is, and that's, so when you choose or you make that selection, or vice versa, like, do some people choose to be that bad character in, okay, I did the Link character, now I want to be like...
I played Batman, now I want to try the Joker.
Yeah, right.
That's an interesting conundrum, because it opens the door, kind of putting it back into that video game reference, is are we the main characters, but some of these people who are, I don't want to say inherently evil, but have the evil tendencies, are they like NPCs of the program that are just designed to give friction and resistance? Or are they just like the young souls, you know, this is their first time here, and they're going to be immature, and they're going to fuck up and do bad things, and then as they reincarnate over and over, they'll get better and more mature and more peaceful or humble. So it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
These are the things that...
These are the things that doctors speculate upon. Well, these doctors do.
Yeah, we're hypothesizing the fuck out of this, and I love it. Well, let's see here. If ghosts exist, why are they apparently so bad at communicating? Are we misunderstanding what they are? Memory, consciousness, environmental imprint, something pretending to be human?
To me, it seems like it's almost like they for the most part, operate on a different frequency, and just like we have a hard time shifting into that frequency, they might have a hard time switching back to that other frequency to communicate with us. I think that some spirits probably are better at it, and that's why, like, you'll see places that are like extremely interactively haunted, or like actively intelligent haunt, like you ask a question and they reply, or it replies, or whatever. So I think that it's probably, if they are spirits of former humans, it's just that knowing how to shift from one frequency to another to communicate with one side or the other.
My answer is similar, but a little bit different. I would think that, let's put it through the lens that paranormal happenings are remnants of deceased humans, right? We'll just put it down as that base fact. Let's operate on that principle. And trying to communicate across different planes of existence is like trying to talk to somebody who's in a different room, because you have walls and barriers in between that are meant to keep you apart, but those walls and barriers are made of frequency. And it's kind of like telling your kid it's time for dinner, or to come pick up their shoes when they're upstairs and 3 rooms down.
Yeah.
Like, there you can hear and you can experience the vibration and the volume, but just the communication is not there. Come get your fucking shoes! What?
What did you say?
Or like when you tell one kid to go get their sibling, hey, go tell your sibling it's time for dinner. It's time for dinner! Like, I could have done that too, but okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I see it, is you have these barriers that are meant to keep us apart, but they're not as effective as they should be because we have the ability to break those barriers.
Yeah, we just have to find those spirits who have the ability of going upstairs into that other room and saying, "Come get your fucking shoes."
Get your fucking shoes off the foyer. Yeah. But again, those doors are made out of frequency, and as much as we played with binaural beats and things like that, I think that's a slight proof of concept that we can change those barriers.
Yeah.
But you yourself have to be at the correct frequency.
Right.
So, anyway. Have we made a mistake by assuming paranormal phenomena are separate categories? Ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, psychic phenomena, and synchronicities, near-death experiences. What if those aren't 6 mysteries? What if they're 6 manifestations of one mystery?
That's kind of what I believe is happening. Like, I do think that there is a through line in all of these things, and it all relates to our consciousness as human beings. Like, I think that holding them separate is not helping or not good. Like, I think that whatever it is, probably related in some aspect of, and I think it's going to be in figuring this all out is you're gonna have to view them similarly. I think that by keeping them separate, it's not helping.
Yeah, I agree. And there was something you said recently on another episode where you talked about the paranormal versus like the UFO phenomenon, and you basically said, if you're a religious person and you think of God, right, and so God is like your guiding light, but if you're a more spiritually driven person, you're going to think of it as consciousness. It's consciousness that drives you to be good and do good things. Or if you're a science-based person, you look at it more from a quantum perspective, right? I'm expounding a little bit on what you said. But the through line with that is you're saying the same thing in 3 different ways. You're just using a different vernacular.
Right.
Like your lexicon is expanded to where instead of, you may not be religious, so you're not going to go with God, but I am spiritual, so I'm going to say consciousness.
Right.
Or somebody who is neither of those and is strictly scientific is looking at it from a quantum aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So they are all tied together. They're not 6 different mysteries, they're 6 different pieces of one big puzzle.
Yeah, I think that what I'm saying by it could be hurting the fact of like trying to bring this information out is like if you go to like a say Phenomenon or whatever, some people are really into the UFO stuff and then just like dismiss the paranormal stuff, like the ghosts and whatever stuff, just because they're looking at it from this scientific point of view of like nuts and bolts UFOs, aliens from outer space. So it's like totally like as soon as you start talking about like ghosts or paranormal activity, it's like you're crazy.
Yeah.
But over here I'm talking about aliens at the same time. It's like, or vice versa, like, you know, some person is talking about ghosts and then you start talking about aliens or whatever and you're like, nope, not possible.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you got to be open to the fact that we have no idea either way on both sides. Like, I mean, we have an idea, but like we don't have solid proof or evidence.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because when I recently went to Paracon and I was kind of like talking to different people and networking, I got curious while I was talking to some of these people because some of them are extremely devout with ghosts, spirits, demons, that sort of thing, and I'm anti-demon. I don't buy it. I'm open enough that I'm willing to change given new information, but I just don't put any stock into it. I'll put it that way. But some of these people, I would ask them, you know, so are you just into the paranormal or are you also into like the UFO, UAP thing? And there was an astounding amount of people that were like, I don't care about any of the UAP stuff. I don't care about the alien stuff. I'm only interested in ghosts. And that struck me as like, really? Because they're both kind of outlandish in a way. They're both a little fringe. Not that I think they're fringe or outlandish, it's the exploration of it. But because we don't see it in our day-to-day, that we tend to put it, way on the periphery of what we think and feel.
Yeah.
But just like the amount of people who were like, nah, I'm only into this. And then asking them about cryptids was even more divisive. Like, I don't believe in any of that shit. No Bigfoot, no rake, no... pick one, and they don't believe it. And it's like, I kind of believe in all of them.
Yeah.
I'm just more interested in this one and this one than this one,
Yeah, especially if you, like ghosts, you think of it in the terms of spiritual terms. Ghosts are spirits of people that we can't see. So are they living in a different dimension? Probably. Now you talk about aliens, and they're talking about aliens as being interdimensional beings as opposed to beings from outer space. And it's like, then you get a crossover, like, okay, well, these things are living in different dimensions and crossover and interact with us. It's the same, it could be viewed as the same thing. Like,
yeah, there's so much confluence of circumstance with all of them that there's an overlap on every single one of these things. You think about Skinwalker Ranch, Bradshaw Ranch, Mount Shasta, these hot spots of UAP activity, right? Mm-hmm. What else do they see? Bigfoot.
Yep.
What else do they see? Portals. What else happens? Poltergeist activity. You go ahead and tell me they're not fucking related when you have these three spots that all three of those things happen simultaneously.
And really, it's not even thinking about like, okay, they live in this X dimension. They all live in this other dimension. It's like, no, there could be infinite other dimensions, different frequencies. There's infinite different frequencies, and they just exist on this one. They don't have any clue about Bigfoots, and they don't have any clue about aliens or greys, and they don't have any clue about mantids. If they're crossing over, they probably have crossed over and seen those realities also, but yeah, I think it's hard to like justify separating each one and calling one kooky and one.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think like ghosts and aliens are high-fiving as they're passing each other in the hallways.
Got him!
Did you see that guy? He shit his pants. Yeah! I have this idea that I've been kind of like floating around, and I have to actually like figure out how to put it into reality. But I think of a grid system, right? So if I was to say there's 9 dimensions, and I can draw 9 horizontal lines. Now I can say that there is an infinite number of parallel realities. Now I can draw vertical lines, okay? Now I'm going to say that there are different planes of existence, right? Depending on which literature you read, it's like 9 or 13, or people have different thoughts about it. But now I can draw diagonal lines of the same amount. Now, how many of those points where horizontal lines, vertical lines, and diagonal lines have intersecting points? It's a shitload.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I see all of this, is like we're having these intersections of realities, of dimensions, of planes of existence, of different forms and levels of consciousness. Those lines are going to intersect everywhere.
Yeah.
Eventually, you can keep adding layers to it, and the map will just be blacked out.
Yeah.
So that, once I kind of like came up with that in my mind, I went, okay, now all possibilities and eventualities are completely real and happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. It's just not happening right here and right now. That's it. And we can't perceive it.
Yeah, and if each one of those lines or strings, like in string theory, is a certain frequency, you start vibrating that frequency enough, you might interact with the frequency right next to it. And that's what string theory says, is that there's actually 11 different dimensions. We live in like the 3rd dimension, mm-hmm. and there's higher and lower dimensions. And so when you can vibrate, and they're not far away, they're around us all the time. When you can vibrate one frequency to almost match that other one, then you intersect with it.
Yeah.
And like a higher dimension would look like we talked about before, sticking your finger into the fishbowl. What does the fish see? Most likely they see a circle in the sky.
Yeah, 100%. And even if you take that grid theory a step further, let's say the very first line of dimensional energy is 10 hertz, right? And your first line of different planes of existence is also 10 hertz. I mean, you're going to take 10 times 10, or you'll either add them or you'll multiply them. Now the connection of those two is at a different hertz rating, or gigahertz, or whatever. Now it's something I'm playing with. I'm going to create a model, and I'm going to present it in a scientific paper where they're going to tell me to fuck off because I'm an idiot. I'm going to do it anyway.
I think you just got to, we have to figure out what the binary code for these hertz signals is, and then run a simulation of our own.
I hope ChatGPT is sophisticated enough to be able to do that, because I don't have the complexity of technology to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a doctor, not that kind of doctor. So let's see, what's next here? What if paranormal phenomena aren't trying to hide from us, but are inherently difficult for the human brain to perceive? I like this one. Meaning the problem isn't the phenomenon, it's the observer.
Yeah. I think we've kind of touched on this a few times in previous episodes where we just don't have the hardware. It's like trying to send a text to a Nokia brick phone, like from a smartphone, or trying to send a video to like a old Nokia flip phone or something.
Yeah, to a blanket like LCD screen that does not have the capability.
Right. So it's like we don't really have the hardware. We probably do have the hardware, we just don't have the software to engage to receive it all the time. That's what I think.
I think we're meant to receive information when we're capable of handling it. I believe that if you're a very narrow-minded person, aliens are not going to be like, let's pick this guy and give him universal knowledge. It's just not going to happen. But if you're an open-minded person and you try and you learn and you pursue knowledge and wisdom, you're going to inherit it when the time is correct for you. You think about some of our ghost hunting forays where there are times you're there and you're fucking bored out of your mind. You're like, God, why do I do this? And then there are other times where you're kind of like, oh, this is so much fun, it's so cool. When the things happen, there's that confluence of your own emotion and your own like willingness to perceive something, right? Mm-hmm. I think that is when the timing is correct. So by putting yourself in the right circumstance at the right time and having the correct mindset, you will be given information, you will be open to an experience that you're going to have that will alter you going forward.
Yeah, they kind of talk about that in the, I think it's called the Yoga Sutras, but they talk about changing your base vibration or your base, like your base vibration into a space where you can receive all the gifts that you're supposed to get. Because most people's energy or your like the way that you think about stuff has been shaped by your upbringing and the energy in your, say you grew up in a house that was, your parents were fighting all the time, and so your base is always like, it's been shaped by that energy that's been around you, ever since you were a baby. So your base is shaped into this energy that's always afraid of what you might say or what you might do to trigger a fight or an argument or whatever. So everything that you deal with in personal relationships, you're tiptoeing around everybody because that's your base reality or that's your base energy output. So changing that from the inside to let all that stuff go and change your base to a more willing and open base, you'll set yourself up to be able to receive and transmit more efficiently. Scientists have measured like your heart frequency, your electromagnetic energy that your heart puts out. They can measure that up to 15 feet away. So as soon as somebody walks in, you can feel their energy without even, you're not doing it like consciously. It's just a subconscious thing where most of the time somebody walks in and they're pissed off, you can tell. You just feel it. Like that's what that is. It's you're feeling their energy, and that's their base, and so your base reacts to that. Like how does your base react to that? Like well if you've grown up in this situation where you're always tiptoeing around, that's what your base is going to do. You're going to not talk and kind of tiptoe around this person. You're going to shrink, yeah. Instead of like if your base is like harmonious or more level, you're going to accept that energy without like fear or whatever, and it's not going to affect you, and that might actually transmit to them also.
It can. It's funny because I was just thinking about that just yesterday. That same exact thing where I think pretty much everybody has empathic abilities, right? You walk into a room, you could just feel the room. And if you're a person, like you're saying, who shrinks, then you'll shrink or cower to kind of like stay on the outskirts and be unnoticed. But there are people like, I feel like myself, where I can walk into a room and feel the emotion and go, no, keep it away from me. Yeah. I don't want it. And that, I think that there's some kind of like subconscious aversion where people can almost pick up on that, and they're like, no, you're going to feel my negative energy, and then they try to like placate it on you. Yeah. It's a weird conundrum that I've been kind of like thinking about. Yeah. But going back to kind of like the knowledge base is, I think of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, where at the end Cate Blanchett's character puts the skull back on and demands all the knowledge of the universe, and she just fucking melts because our tiny little minds are not capable of perceiving that amount of information. Right. We're like a funnel, right? All of our senses, our sight, hear, smell, all that is like the open mouth of the funnel, but our brain is the bottom of the funnel. We can only take in so much at a time. Because if we were capable of inheriting and applying knowledge or wisdom right away, there would be no such thing as growth. There would be no need for time to change things. Somebody could say something about you and you go, oh, yeah, I can fix it right there. We're not built that way. Yeah. We have to take our time with things. So just being imparted with too much wisdom and too much knowledge right away, our brains would just shatter. Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you have a funnel and you're trying to pour, like, say, sugar or something through this funnel, and then you do it slowly and it all just keeps on running through the funnel. If you pour, like, a whole bunch of shit into the funnel, then it just stops. Yeah. Because it can't handle that much. Or the funnel tips over, or you overfill the funnel, and now you're just losing it anyway. Yeah, so, and then your brain starts leaking out of your ears. Do you ever think maybe that's why some people who have been abducted by aliens just like totally lose their mind? Like maybe they perceived so much, but it was just an overload. It's like plugging a device that's a 110 into a 220. It's just too much voltage right off the bat, and it just fried their circuit. Yeah, for sure. Even with the simple knowledge of, like, you're in this physical reality of, the world is the world and that's it, and then all of a sudden your mind is expanded to, like, knowing that there are aliens, knowing that they might be probing people's butts, and you've experienced this, and how do you just go back to work the next day and, like, flip burgers or whatever it is that you do, like, with that knowledge. I still think the probing thing was, like, part of the disinformation from the government because for a long time, society did not accept gay people. I mean, it's reality. For a long time, that was not okay. So, you know, like post-Roswell, when we kind of got this alien UFO fever, the government came out with this idea of, how do we stigmatize aliens so much that people don't even want to talk about it? Gay. Butt stuff. Gay. So, I really think, why not? The government has done way wackier shit.
I always look at it even in the lens of like scientists that go like find a new species or whatever. They're going to do all these tests on this animal, or they might abduct it, you know, shoot it with a tranquilizer, put it out, put it to sleep, and then they go and run all these tests on it. So I don't know, maybe anal probing isn't that outlandish for aliens to do. They're seeing, what does this hole do? What does this hole do?
I mean, to be fair, that is like one thing that we all have.
Yeah.
We all got a butthole.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your gender is.
Yeah.
So, who knows? I don't know.
Especially if you're an alien species that doesn't have to eat, or like,
yeah,
in the sense that we do, and then we poop after. They're just like, I want to understand it. Why do they put stuff in here and stuff comes out here? Yeah.
It's so weird. It smells funny too. Yeah. All right, where do we go? This one's an easy one. Does consciousness create reality, interact with reality, or merely experience reality? And if consciousness interacts with reality, where does paranormal end in physics we don't understand yet begin?
In everything that I have been seeing lately, actually somebody just a few years back just won the Nobel Prize saying that consciousness creates reality. So I tend to believe that your reality is shaped by how you perceive it. So I think that the physical reality the consciousness interacts with the physical reality, because we see stuff like in the end of the Matrix where Neo finally becomes the one, and he's looking around and he sees like just energy lines of code going by, and then there's a cluster of energy for every person. It's just a cluster of energy and empty space in between. I think that our consciousness and our brain is putting those pieces together as we move through this energy sea. It's kind of like a fish in the ocean. Mm-hmm. You know, we're moving through this space that we perceive as space, but there's no empty space there. There's energy running all around us all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that consciousness definitely creates this reality. What was the end of the question?
It was, where does paranormal end in physics we don't understand yet begin?
At the same line, like,
yeah.
There's so much. I think that it's naive to think that we're like have any real knowledge of what's going on. We're just barely scratching the surface of physics, and especially like what is it called? Like the Planck scale, or the
Planck scale is the
smallest measurement.
Yeah, basically like the
quantum realm.
Yeah, it's not the space between atoms. I was just doing like a deep dive on it, and now I'm going full potato, like smooth brain on it. The space between what is it? Between the electrons and shit is measured by the Planck scale, and it's like 10 billion trillion zeros or something like that.
Yeah.
Decimal places. It's crazy to think that small of a scale was thought up by a human, you know.
In research that I did, the way that it was explained, it was actually in that Michio Kaku book, and it was the guy's name was Planck. His last name was Planck, And
You know
he
what's
said,
weird is I had to look outside because I swear I just heard my dad cough in there, but he's not here.
ghost,
Ghost.
alien.
Potentially. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
So it's basically he was looking at the other side of a river, and he was thinking, how far is it from here to the other side of the river? And then he was like, maybe 100 paces. And he's like, well, it depends on how many paces you take. It could be 300 or it could be 100, depending on how big the pace is. And so he said, actually, it's infinite. There's an infinite amount of space between here and there, because you can keep on dissecting that by half, by half, by half, whatever number it is. Mm-hmm. And so it came down to this like minuscule number that's like the smallest measurement that they go off of now, the Planck scale. But yeah, I think that the way that we perceive things is just how our meat spacesuit is set up to perceive them.
Yeah, I think I still don't have like the total definition of consciousness. I have like a keyhole perspective of it. And I was thinking about this the other day because I saw this great clip from this show from the 90s, and because I was watching this video and somebody was talking about consciousness and how it works and their perception of it. And in the show, this alien life form was talking to these humans on the spaceship and was saying, if you take a flashlight and you point it at the wall, the light that you see on the wall is you. That's your consciousness. But you are not the source of it. The flashlight is. What is the flashlight? And that's the way I've been looking at it lately, is like, yes, I am the light on the wall, but where does that come from? What is the source of that? How is it powered? Are we all the light on the wall? Are we all the light that is being subjected into this room right now? But what is the source of the light? I could say it's that lamp, but is it? As for where does the paranormal end or begin with that, I think it all just begins with you being willing to question it. Because let's be real, I don't think we have the ability to perceive all the physics that we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of evolution to go through before we can even get close. I think about that last time we went to Benson Grist Mill for an investigation, and there were a lot of paranormal happenings that felt extremely personal to me. And even kind of going back through the footage while I was working on the video the other day, is like remembering those instances and going through that event and then coming out of it with the perception that maybe paranormal happenings are emotional fractals of yourself. Like, you are putting that into reality. It's not the reality itself.
Right.
It's, I am subconsciously creating this paranormal event using my own emotions and my own memories and what I'm feeling at the time. So in essence, the consciousness is creating the reality of that paranormal event.
Very interesting. And that's one thing that Cindy Kaza talked about, was like paranormal stuff or poltergeist activity sometimes may be a fractal of your own psyche that is subconsciously trying to bring awareness to this thing that you have in your subconscious that you haven't really dealt with, or you still have energy attached to that.
Yeah.
And it's just interacting with the physical space around you because you're opening yourself to receive that energy, I guess.
Yeah. Or maybe it's because that particular energy needed to have a breakthrough to be perceptible to you in a moment you needed it, but didn't know you needed it. Could be.
Could it be possible?
Experts say yes. You know how I
Some
know?
doctors say yes.
We're experts. We're of the doctoral persuasion. Let's see. Why does high strangeness so often seem absurd? UFO occupants doing bizarre things, strange synchronicities, nonsensical messages, ridiculous cryptid encounters, What if absurdity isn't noise? What if it is part of the mechanism?
Well, I think that it's probably perceived as absurd by people who are just super attached to the physical, because that is the space that we operate in daily life. And so anything outside of that normal just seems ridiculous. Like, but it all depends on what your lens is looking at. Like if you, before humans developed an airplane, people thought it was absurd to think that you could fly. Mm-hmm. And now it's like people do it all the time, and it's just a part of commonplace. So I really think that it's people who are so attached to the physical world that they know and understand, and thinking outside the box is just, so many people do it, but like it is seen absurd by a lot of the majority of the world.
I don't think it's absurd at all, and I do think it is part of the mechanism, especially within that list, synchronicities, where once you start paying attention to them, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're literally everywhere. And it's not just, well, I saw 111 on the clock. It's well beyond that, because I've seen so many that I've almost gotten frustrated because it feels like there's no payoff to those things. But I don't, and I used to think that there would be a payoff to it. Instead, I don't think of them as like, this is a sign that something is going to happen. Instead, I think of them as like mile markers on the highway.
Yeah.
You're still on the highway and you're getting to where your goal is. You're just seeing mile marker 11, but you got to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
So, but it's each time you see one, especially when it feels deep and personal, it's not about a triggering or a flag waving that something is coming. It's just a reminder, like, you're where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're on the right path, just keep going. So it's not absurd. It's part of the mechanism. It is, I don't want to say part of the plan, because that's too simple, but it is part of the plan.
It's just you're seeing the code that you're running on in the matrix.
That's it.
The repeating itself.
That's all synchronicities are.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Yep.
I'm still there.
Yeah, as for like the perception of absurdity, I hate to say it, but it's to weed out the small minds.
Yeah.
Because, so I get notifications from Reddit, from some subreddits that I'm part of, and one of them is Skinwalker Ranch, because mostly in subreddit they talk about the show.
Yeah.
But there's always a naysayer who gets in there, the show's such bullshit, everything's manufactured, this is just pure TV, blah, blah, blah. I watch that show and I go, yes, it's TV formatted, but what they're showing you is real.
Yeah.
So looking at that is like, okay, Skinwalker Ranch is fascinating to you and I, but we're built for that. We're open-minded. We want to seek the truth. And then there's people like that, they don't want to know the truth. They say they do, but they don't. Because if they did want to know the truth, they would just watch the show and quiet down that skeptic part of their mind a little bit and just be open to perceive what's being presented.
Yeah. And I think that, like, my mind also does that, like, skeptic point of view, like, analysis. At the same time, I think that it's imperative that you have to have a skeptical side. But at the same time, I have another side that's like, okay, this is really happening, and then those two converge to a point of like, okay, if you have to try to explain it in some kind of other way, could it be possible that it is this, and this that's happening, or could it be possible that it's this thing that they're saying, you know, whatever.
I agree. You have to disprove the provable first.
Right.
Just like with ghost hunting, the first thing we do is like an EMF sweep and a carbon monoxide sweep. Let's take out the variables that we know have physical effects that can cause hallucinations.
Yeah. And how many other things are possible in that same regard that we just aren't aware of yet, like another type of gas in the area that we're not measuring for.
Sure.
Could
Environmental
definitely,
factors,
yeah.
transient magnetic waves. There's a billion factors that could play into that. But my perception is let's eliminate the ones that we know how to eliminate first.
Exactly.
And then we can move on. All right. If you could receive definitive proof of one paranormal question, but you could never show the evidence to anyone else, would you still want it? And which question? That's secretly a question about whether you're searching for truth or validation. That's a great preposition.
I think I would want to know if I could be presented with the truth and never show the evidence. Yeah.
It's tough because the painful reality is the thrill is in the pursuit of the truth. Like sitting here doing these topics or having these deep and philosophical conversations, that is the true joy in it. The thing that I worry about is like, if you receive the answer, would it be lackluster? Would it just be like, fuck, that's it?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like,
I mean,
really, it's going to depend on what it is, how it's revealed, and what the answer is. Like that was dumb.
yeah.
That was so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie all the way till the end because you think it's going to get better and it doesn't. It just ends.
Or like watching a movie that's like top tier awesome, and then the third act just falls flat on its face because they didn't know how to end it correctly.
Right.
That would be my big fear of it. Going back to the funnel thing, I'm going to say if my funnel can handle it, just go ahead and tell me.
Yeah.
Even if it's a letdown, I'd rather know. Now it says I can't show the proof. Doesn't mean I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people who have after-death experiences. There's no proof, there's nothing to show anybody, but they can tell their tale.
Yeah. Or whistleblowers that say, I can't talk about that.
Yeah. Or it's like David Grush tells a lot of very interesting tales. Zero evidence.
Yeah.
It's all anecdotal. And I'm not picking on the guy or
I
whatever.
believe the things that he says. Almost all the things that he says are secondhand, like somebody told me this and somebody told me this, information that he's received. So I do believe that people probably told him that stuff.
Same with after-death experiences. I believe you had that experience. Just because you couldn't take a fucking camera into the afterlife and video the whole thing doesn't mean I don't believe you.
Yeah.
What experience in your life would be hardest to explain if you were forced to argue that the paranormal doesn't exist? Then reverse it. What experience that seemed paranormal at first now has the strongest conventional explanation?
The paranormal thing that has happened that can be explained now is sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
In the moment, it seems very evil and very intentful, especially when you don't really know about sleep paralysis. But in my mind, like in that same regard, I was not asleep. I was awake. I hadn't even fallen asleep yet. I was still awake. And I've told this story before, and so I was laying there getting ready to go to sleep, laid down, and all of a sudden I just felt like the room was getting heavy, like dark and heavy, and I was, energy-wise, it shifted, and it felt very like I was in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to sit up to like run out of the room I was in, and as I sat up, it felt like something jumped on top of me and pushed me down into the bed and started choking me. And so I was laying there for a good minute, like trying to get this thing off of me or whatever. I couldn't breathe, was choking. Finally, like, was able to kind of roll sideways and then fall off of the bed, and felt like I was let go, and then I ran out. In the moment, it was very much so a paranormal event.
Mm-hmm.
One that really scared me and really, in my mind, solidified the truth of evil, malevolent spirits. Looking back at it now, knowing about like sleep paralysis and what that entails, it's entirely possible that that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, it still feels like a paranormal event. So
yeah. So I'm going to go on the opposite of an event that happened, kind of like on the first part of the question, like how do you explain it? Let me go back to that. What experience in your life would be the hardest to explain if you were forced to argue that the paranormal doesn't exist? And so I think I've told this story before, but I was laying in bed and I have like 2 foam toppers on my mattress. So it's like when you lay down or sit down on it, there's a big indentation because it's like that thick. And so I was laying in bed and I was facing that direction and I kind of had my legs curled up like in that half fetal position that you sleep in. And I woke up because I felt like somebody was in the room with me. And so I kind of like look around and there's nothing. But I happened to notice right behind where my legs were, it looked like somebody sat down. Like 2 ass cheeks just pushed down into that foam topper. And it felt exactly like there was a physical presence right there. Now, how do I explain that with saying the paranormal doesn't exist? I can't.
yeah,
Unless that there is some kind of rift between dimensions or planes or something like that, where there is another identical reality where potentially I go into my room and I sit in that exact spot, but for some reason the veil or the barrier is thin to where there is a physical reaction without a physical appearance. So to me it was paranormal. Could it have a potential like reality factor to it? Sure. My mind's far too small to be able to explain it.
yeah.
I mean, I tried, but it probably came out as nonsense.
You know what the test could have been? Is like you see the butt cheeks sitting down and then you just like pull your pants up.
We're about to film some home inspectors.
Slide into that spot and see what happens.
Until I find out it is an alternate reality version of me who's like, ow! Ah! What the fuck? Was that an alien?
That would be weird, like you're feeling the penetration on both sides, like Lucky Pierre.
Oh.
Of yourself.
You know, that would be solid proof. Because I felt it go in and then I felt it go in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just
Wormhole.
just wormholed my hole. That's interesting. That fucking answered that question. Solved it.
I knew we'd get there.
Something got there. Is synchronicity evidence of something happening externally or evidence that consciousness is extraordinarily good at finding meaning? And the nastier follow-up, how could we ever tell the difference?
I don't think that we can ever tell the difference. I think that it's going to use a nasty word, faith, in whatever it is that you are believing in is taking it as a sign. Either you're on the right track, God's path for you, or you're taking it as a sign as like you're on the path that you're running the code. Either way, it's still faith. Like it's a sign of faith, and that faith only comes from somebody who believes. And so, I think that it's all faith.
I mean,
what you believe.
Going back to the mile marker road sign analogy from earlier, I do believe that, you know, it is, how do I word it? It is the path, but I do think part of it is external in some shape or fashion. Case in point, let's say let's say we do an episode and you leave your sunglasses right there. And then you go home and I go about my day. Then I come back in here and I see those glasses. Oh, fuck, Spencer left his glasses there. And then a couple minutes later, I get a text from you. Hey, I left my sunglasses at your house. That is proof of external synchronicity. Even as small of a confluence as that is, it's still, to me, proof. Mm-hmm. But, again, it does become your faith. Like, there's so many of these, like, little synchronicities that happen that people assign meaning to. So, I'll give you another one, is... came home from one of our investigations, right? And there's a bird feather on the front mat, right at the front door. One single feather, that's it. It's not like a bird was attacked and their feathers went everywhere. It's one feather. So I picked it up and I come inside and then I Google it. What does that mean? And people have this assigned meaning to it, which I have no understanding of the origin of. It just, I don't know, somebody just came up with it.
Yeah.
But if I look at it through the lens that somebody else has given it meaning, and I believe that meaning, does that come to fruition? Or if somebody else assigns a different meaning to it, like if you say, oh, that means good fortune is coming your way, and I believe that, then good fortune is coming my way. Or if another person says, oh, you found a feather on your front doorstep, that means you're going to stub your toe on the coffee table. And you're like, that seems stupid. It's do you believe it or not?
Yeah.
It's how much power do you give a thing to control your reality, is the way I perceive it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think synchronicities are super dope.
So do I, and it goes back to like the thought of the scientific explanation of the Big Bang Theory. Like, it was a single point of, nothing, and then all of a sudden it just expanded out into, I won't say it was an explosion, but an expansion of space-time, and then all this energy came out. If that's true, then we are all the same energy. Everything is all the same energy. Where I'm the same thing that's this can is, that these, this statue is, our phones, everything, and so all of the secrets of the universe are actually already inside of us. We just have to be willing to tune into it.
I agree.
And so these synchronicities could be signs that we're on the right path, or it could be a part of us that we're just noticing on the outside.
Yeah. The one question I always have with synchronicities is it actually foreshadowing? Is it the presence of an external force? And that's the one I have zero answer for, aside from what power do you give it? Because sometimes the synchronicity happens and you'll see it and you'll take notice of it, but you don't register that it's going to mean anything. And then sometimes it does mean something. Sometimes it is a predilection of another event.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, how much should I question it? And how much should I just accept it and keep going? Only time will tell.
Yeah.
This is a good one. At what point does skepticism become just as irrational as belief? There's obviously gullibility, but is there an opposite version where someone becomes so committed to materialism that no evidence could ever change their worldview?
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It was like these people that say that all of these things are utter nonsense just because they're so connected to this physical reality. Anything outside of that, it just seems ludicrous. I think that there's a lot of people out there, and it doesn't take much just to say we don't know. And I think it's really arrogant to say that, this physical reality is all that there is, because we honestly don't know.
I agree, and I also think it's extremely arrogant to think that we're the only intelligent life across the cosmos. That is the stupidest fucking thing I can think of. And I say that a lot, but that to me is the stupidest ideology a person can possibly have.
Yeah.
do you know how fucking vast the cosmos are? But we're the only smart people. Okay. I think the same could be said on the opposite side, where I do see heavy skepticism as absurd, right? But I also think the same can be on the opposite side, where you can blindly believe something so much with zero evidence, with no sense of platform to go with it. It's kind of like kind of in the ghost hunting realm, and I'm not trying to point any fingers or anything. When people are so committed to the idea of demons, right? And it's not just because of my lack of belief in demons, it's that people want to get so into that concept that they can't see any other possible explanation for it except for that.
Yeah.
Or the same with tarot readers. You know, and I'm not trying to beat up on tarot readers or tarot itself, but the people who just do the cards and do their thing and say, this is it, this is reality, because the cards delegated it. But you're not questioning anything. You're not understanding pathway or trajectory. You're just saying the card said this, and my intuition says this, it has to be true.
Yeah. Also, in the realm of UFOs, like people who believe in extraterrestrials and then think that it's absurd that there might be interdimensional beings. It's like, okay, you're super extreme with like saying how we're being visited by organisms from outside of our solar system, but at the same time poo-pooing on people who are saying that like that it's interdimensional travel. Still talking about the same thing here.
You're just using a different lexicon.
Yeah.
Or even like we were talking about earlier, people who are devoutly into the paranormal, but give zero mind to aliens.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, like the Phenomenon metaphor of there are people who are so devoutly into the aliens thing, they don't give a shit about the paranormal.
Yeah. And you could see it too, because there would be like, at the conference, there's, you know, ghost hunting people talking, and then it'll go to like somebody from Skinwalker Ranch, and then go to like Ancient Aliens guy, and people would just get up and leave. Mm-hmm. And then a new crowd would come in and sit down for this lecture or whatever, speech, and they would go up to like one of the other rooms where they're actually talking about ghost hunting stuff again up there. Yeah. So it's like, not interested in hearing what you're saying about aliens or ancient aliens or like whatever, but the ghost hunting stuff is my bread and butter or whatever.
Yeah. And I think if you were able to break down Phenomenon into specific days, like it's a 4-day event. So let's say you did the first day was on cryptids, and then the second day is consciousness, and third day is paranormal, and the fourth day is aliens. You would see the vast amount of people would only show up for what they want.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, sure, I would show up for Cryptid Day, but I'm not gonna put a whole lot of effort into seeing every speaker.
Right.
But if we do a consciousness, a paranormal, and a UAP day, I'm gonna be there for all of them.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna go with your own flavor. It's not to say I don't believe in one or the other. It's just what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But that's vastly different than just being like, no, aliens are real. Fucking ghosts, you're an idiot.
Of course, it comes down to like personalities, like people are fans of certain people, and so they want to hear what they have to say, like experts on the matter. Like there was a huge difference in the number of people who were in the room for, say, Dr. Travis Taylor when he gave his thing, and then like Maria Mayer, who's the Bigfoot person, Bigfoot primatologist. There was a big difference in numbers of people, and I think it's mostly just because a personality thing, maybe.
I agree with that, because Maria is she's a very well-spoken lady, and she has interesting things to say, but Dr. Travis Taylor is kind of a big personality. He's kind of boisterous, and he makes jokes, and he uses swear words and things like that, so it's easier to consume what he has to say, because not only do you acknowledge that he's vastly smarter than you, but he's also a person just like you or I.
Right.
So, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
This is a good one. there's a word in here I've never heard before. If non-human intelligence exists and has interacted with humanity, what is the least anthropocentric explanation for why it's here? Not invasion, not saving humanity, not studying our nukes. Those are all human stories. What would something genuinely alien care about? Oh, Chet put a typo. It should be aliens. What would something genuinely... What would aliens give a shit about? Not invasion, not saving humanity, not studying our nukes.
I think the same thing, the same interests we have, just understanding what is going on in this different other space. Like, we're sending probes to Mars just to see what the fuck is going on there.
Yeah.
I think that whether it's interdimensional beings, whether it's extraterrestrial beings, whether it's us from the future or us from the past even, in my mind it seems like it's a scientific probe of like looking for information either through DNA information or through like just the study, like we study ants or we study primates or whatever, just to see what the higher, understanding everything about it so that you can build this library of information, especially for if there is a species that's an intergalactic species, they're going to go through and catalog and find, just like Lewis and Clark did when they went across America, like, this is a bird we've never seen before, what is it? And draw a picture of it, probe its anus.
Yo, John, eat that leaf. See what happens.
And John wasn't doing it. One of the natives. Hey, native. hey, wild horse.
You're not life. Try that out. I think the only non-anthropocentric answer for that would be they got lost, or they're here by accident. Every other potential explanation, whether it's cataloging or studying or gathering samples or whatever, those are all anthropocentric because those are all things that we do. Whether they're here to guide humanity by stopping nukes or things like that, we do that too. So that's where I think they're not too dissimilar from us in that right, where even if they're just here to observe, we do that all the time. We call it a zoo.
Yeah.
Or we watch TV, or I don't like to think it's as simple as like aliens are viewing us, but we're basically just ants in an anthill. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because...
Think about this, though. So, science is saying that reality is being shaped by consciousness, and everything interacts like light, like the double slit experiment. It only acts when it's observed. So, if we are real, what is observing us?
That is an excellent question. Are you ChatGPT? No, that's a really deep thought, is because particles behave different when they're being watched. I think a lot of that has to do with what is watching them, especially within the double slit experiment, because it's the devices using to measure and observe are changing the effect of the particles.
And they even determined that it would affect the light particles, how they reacted differently in different times. Like, so you could affect it from in reverse. Like, so it already happened, but then you can affect it one way or the other.
Yeah.
So you can change it through time.
Interesting. It's kind of like religious people say God is always watching. Now, does that make people behave better? Or do people just do what they're going to do anyway?
Who is the observer?
Who is the observer, I think, is the question. And is there a different outcome for a different behavior is if you were to take God out of the paradigm of this conversation, and we'll just put it down on a baseline and say it's aliens. Aliens are watching us. They're watching what we do. Does that mean we're going to behave better because we want them to perceive us as being better? Or are we just going to flip off the sky and just go do what we're going to do? I think that's the factor. In which case, if you were to take that out of the human perspective of that question and put it back into particles, does that mean particles think individually?
Maybe.
I think we just stumbled upon a really big question there.
Yeah, I think we just tripped on a whole can of worms.
Yeah, we just tripped on a whole can of worms and got probed. I'm going to have to really think about that, because that is a very interesting conundrum of
existence.
Existence, yeah, because it's like, we all know somebody at work who's like this, who does fuck all nothing all day until the boss hits the floor and walks through, and then it's suddenly they're pushing a broom. Hey boss, look how good of a job I'm doing. So if the act of observation changes your behavior, does that imply individual thinking? And if that's the case, that would imply that particles have individual thinking. God. All right, I gotta move on before I get totally stuck on that one. What if the phenomenon changes based upon the expectations of the observer? What? Angels centuries ago, fairies later, airships in the 1800s, flying saucers in the 50s, gray aliens today. Are we seeing different phenomena or different interfaces for the same phenomena?
So is it different interfaces, or the collective consciousness shifts from one viewing one thing into another, and now we start seeing, since the collective consciousness is projecting this image of what it is that's being seen, so more people are seeing whatever it is that as the paradigm shifts of the explanation of this phenomenon, does that projection shift also to like coerce this thing to change?
Again, it comes back to like...
Yeah, that was a synchronicity of us like predicting the future.
Yeah, to be totally honest, I've not read through these questions, like at all.
And I'm just being like an observer and reacting to the questions. I don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah, so when I made this prompt and it came up with a bunch of questions, I was like, don't read the questions because I want to have a genuine reactive answer, right? Because I knew he was going to come out with some banger questions. And then I kind of saw the amount and I was like, all right, make another set, just in case we go through them too quickly. And so like the confluence of circumstance where it's like, it just happens that our time is running up to an episode length, but we have a whole second set of questions. I didn't plan that. Is that a synchronicity? Did the event change subconsciously? Because I thought ahead of what if we run through these questions too much, give me another set. But it just so happens the timing works out perfect, right? I don't know, man. Because I keep looking at it through this lens, and this is where I'm tripping myself up, is I'm looking at this lens of being observed, not being the observer. So being observed will change my behavior, right? But I haven't thought about it from the perspective of I'm observing the phenomena. How does the phenomena change or behave knowing I'm observing it? It's kind of like, I would say that the times I've seen unexplainable things in the sky, and it's happened to be enough that I can definitively say these phenomena are happening, right? Because you go out to the night sky, you see one light streaking straight across, you go, okay, that could be a satellite, that could be X, Y, or Z. But when you go out and you look at the night sky and you see multiple glowing lights and they're interacting with each other, and you take notice of them, almost every single time it turns from 1 or 2 into 4 or 5 or 6. Like it multiplies when I'm watching it. So looking at it from the perspective that I'm the observer,
So here's another question. What do you do as the observer when you notice, when your observation is that whatever you're observing is observing you back? Kind of like if you're watching an anthill and you're just like, okay, what are these guys doing? And all of a sudden you notice that they're all just fucking standing there looking at you.
It would be quite shell-shocking, like, are you looking at me? Are you looking at me? Nobody else, yeah, you must be looking at me. That is an interesting thing, especially to put it through the perspective of like the multiple orbs in the sky playing with each other essentially. Do they know that I'm watching them? And if they do, are they putting on a show specifically for me because they're watching me and they see that I'm entertained?
Mm. Like, what is this guy going to do? Hey, scramble, scramble.
Yeah. Let's evasive maneuvers. Let's just trip him up. I don't know. Observing the observer who is observing you. It's
Then all of a sudden you're looking in the mirror going, rabbit holes, dude. We're stuck in the matrix.
Bed, just fucking... All right, it was the last one. Let's see what we got in store. What would frighten you more, discovering humanity is completely alone, or discovering that we never have been?
I would say discovering that humanity is completely alone, because I am on the side that we never have been. So yeah.
I agree with that, and I hate to think that we were completely alone, because humans thrive on influence, right? You think about your formative years when you were a teenager and you started getting into music, and then some of the musicians you really enjoyed, they became kind of icons to your life. Or you've seen a specific movie that kind of changed your perception of who you are, because that's what the movie was there for. Or you meet somebody who inspires you, right? Mm-hmm. So we thrive on that influence, and we kind of mold ourselves within that pattern in some ways, even subconsciously. So to think that it's just us, that there's no higher power, there is no civilization that's more advanced, that there's no other entities out there who can be kind of a beacon or a guiding light, it kind of makes you question, like, is it even worth it for us to be here?
Yeah.
If there's no road for us to keep walking on, then what is the point?
Yeah, you can see it from the other side, though, like to see if humanity really is completely alone the way that it describes. It's almost awe-inspiring that we've come this far in this physical space, like, as humans, coming from nothing. If there is no divine power, if there is no, like, higher consciousness, to see that human beings have pushed the envelope of what is possible in technology and understanding and gaining knowledge. I think that would be inspiring to think about, but given that the universe is so large, I really highly doubt it. It seems like there's no possible way that we could be the only intelligent life forms.
Yeah. And I think we kind of encapsulated the positive and negative of that right there, where I kind of looked at it as like humans need hope, and you looked at it as like look back for it. It's there, but we're just looking in different directions. And that's why we do this.
It's why we do it.
We're not always identical answers, and I think that's one of the beauties of us doing this, is sometimes we challenge each other to give each other a new perspective.
Yeah.
That's why we're so fucking smart.
That's why we're doctors.
Doctors. With that said, let's pull it, but we're going to do another one.
Okay.
This was actually really cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have time to research.
I feel my consciousness expanding every question.
Same. My wiener, too. That's unrelated.
You can change your own physical reality. Shit.
Dude, if you could.
I got to change my base reality.
You mean your britches? Because you strained a little bit right there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call that one solved. Doctor?
Doctor.
Later.
Bye.